Now, I think it's pretty safe to say that the future of the Star Wars franchise seems to be quite expansive, not just with the TV shows and the movies, but we also got a series of books, novels, and comics coming on our way with this new universe by both Jon and Dave. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel for future Star Wars content. Now, one thing is for certain is that, yes, we do know that Kathleen Kennedy is fully invested with Star Wars The Acolyte series by Leslie Headland, which, by the way, in case you guys did not know and are out of the loop, that show is going to take place within the very end of the High Republic era. Pretty much within that 50 to 60 years before the Phantom Menace timeline. So, the very end of the High Republic is going to be a little bit different in comparison to what you see in the comics and the books. I still believe, however, that this show is not going to succeed based on, what's being poured into the actual show. It's very much agenda-driven. It is the High Republic still, after all, so let's not forget about that. Now, everything related to Kathleen Kennedy, obviously over the years, a lot of fans have been very disappointed with her leadership, with, of course, not just with The Last Jedi, but of course with The Rise of Skywalker. She is the one directly responsible for deleting so many scenes and preventing J.J. Abrams' true vision of Star Wars and how he wanted to actually pretty much salvage some of Colin Trevorrow's work. I don't know if you guys knew this, but J.J. was really trying to salvage some of Colin Trevorrow's work from his version of Episode 9 into his own version of the movie. So moving on ahead, we obviously know that a lot of changes are being made behind the scenes over at Lucasfilm. There have been a lot of setbacks before because of the GINA CARANO firing. Jon Favreau has actually been engaging with a lot of rewrites and a lot of, adjustments to The Mandalorian Season 3 and 4, so that's taking a little bit of time here. And obviously, Jon, is very much invested with what's happening with Star Wars. Now, what's really intriguing all has to do with Kathleen Kennedy. Now that, of course, Disney and Lucasfilm are currently developing their new Star Wars universe, as Jon and Dave Filoni are busy creating the Ahsoka and Mandalorian series, as well as Kenobi, it's best described that Jon Favreau is making major changes to the Star Wars universe moving ahead. However, it's best noted that Kathleen Kennedy behind the scenes is having second thoughts about working for Lucasfilm and being the president of all things Star Wars. Let's not forget that Kathleen Kennedy is very much fed up with the amount of Star Wars fans going against her. It's best described that since the end of the sequel trilogy and since she lost her creative power in early 2020, Kennedy has been wanting to leave Lucasfilm, and that now she is making plans on exactly how she will go about doing that, and of course in the near future. Kathleen Kennedy is said to have plans of starting her own production company that will center around her own narrative when it comes to both films and television. Kathleen Kennedy is said to want to create her own fan base to invest their time in her own projects, where she is set to actually begin or bring over a handful of Lucasfilm employees over to her own production company that is currently being planned by Kennedy herself. Not just that, but however, Kennedy is said to be overly frustrated with how many Star Wars fans no longer support her after rejecting the High Republic era of the brand, as well as how fans dislike The Rise of Skywalker for several reasons because of Kathleen Kennedy. Further, Kathleen Kennedy is also said to still hold a grudge against creator George Lucas for working closely with Jon and Dave to actually creating a more successful take on the Star Wars franchise moving ahead. Now, let me just stop right here, because this is a very interesting development and progression when it comes to Kathleen Kennedy. Now, hey, I think that obviously a lot of fans are very upset with Kathleen Kennedy's take on Star Wars. Who wouldn't, right? Some of you guys out there may very well like how she leads Lucasfilm and how she serves as the president of all things Star Wars. Some of you guys out there may like that, and that's perfectly fine. Everybody has their own opinion, whatever it may be, that's fine. But there's no denying that a majority of the fans are really fed up with Kathleen Kennedy, are very much tired of Kathleen Kennedy's nonsense. And there's no doubt about it also that Kathleen Kennedy is doing a lot of this on purpose. I mean, how could you not be doing this on purpose? We see how the High Republic era is so disliked. You know, we see how it's very lazy story writing. I mean, after all, they have a main character that's a solid rock, like a legitimate tombstone, that's called Geode. I mean, can we get any worse than this? This is literally hitting rock bottom. You know, no pun intended. Almost pun intended, actually. But when we look at everything related to Kathleen Kennedy, obviously she's working on the Acolyte. She's heavily invested in that show. That is going to be the very show that's going to be the definition of Kathleen Kennedy's creative control. That's exactly why I believe it's going to be a big mess and a complete failure. Again, like I say, I mean, yes, I know that there is no footage to judge from, but it's Kathleen Kennedy's project after all, so what do we really expect? Now, related to her own production company, alright, you would think that at her age, she would want to retire and just step back and call it a day and just stay out of the film business, and that's it, the film industry. Just kind of give it all up, right? But that's not who she is. She wants to continue. She wants to keep going. She wants to create her own production company. It almost seems as if that her stepping into the role of Lucasfilm as a president was almost like this stepping stone, almost like this launch pad for her to doing something a little bit more significant in her life, and that is creating her own production. Now, obviously we talked about this lightly a couple of weeks ago, that she's not necessarily going to be quote-unquote there in person running the show for a very long time, maybe in the early stages, but she's going to be leaving it up to new writers and directors and producers to eventually run the show of her own production company, to follow her legacy, to follow her vision. Obviously, this is Kathleen Kennedy's attempt to keeping her agenda alive and well when it comes to new projects that are not associated with Star Wars. I wholeheartedly believe that she's beginning to realize that the majority of fans are not accepting what she wants to do with Star Wars, and that now she is left with this option to make her own company, transfer some of her loyal Lucasfilm employees over there to support her and to help create these new projects. And that's that. That's pretty much her end game from what it seems. You know, this is her actual end game. Now, when we look at Lucasfilm as a whole, we do know that GINA CARANO talked about this, is that there's a lot of employees over there that try to protect her, and there's other employees out there that were trying to get rid of her. And it's a very, you know, toxic environment. It is an environment that a lot of fans are very well aware of right now. There is literally a divide over at Lucasfilm between ones that are more loyal to George, John, and Dave, and others that are more loyal to those like Leslie and Kathleen Kennedy. So, like I say, I mean, I think that obviously, over the course of the next couple of months, you're going to see what John and Dave are doing, you know, with shows out there like Kenobi, The Bad Batch, and more. I cannot wait to get our very first look at the Kenobi series this December, on December 21st, mind you, right around of course, when the Book of Boba Fett drops on Disney+. So yeah, guys, you know, let me know what you think about this entire situation below in the comments. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.